This is Making Stitches, and this time we're taking a plunge into the colourful world of hand embroidery with Clare Albans from Hello Hooray blog, who 1 year ago this month expanded from an online shop to a real bricks and mortar shop and studio thanks to a community Kickstarter campaign.
It's that connection, and I think particularly after the pandemic, just being able to rebuild connections and do that through something creative is really, really important. And so that's what this space has always been about. It isn't just about the shop, it's about teaching and community. It's about people and creativity, and that's why it was so important to me. And I'm just so grateful that people kind of saw that in the Kickstarter project and wanted to support it.
Hello and welcome to Making Stitches. I'm Lindsay and I'm thrilled to be able to share another creative chat with you. Thank you to everyone for all the positive feedback from last time's Crochet-tastic episode with Hannah Cross from Hanjan Crochet and Amanda Bloom from the Little Box of Crochet. I really enjoyed recording that episode, and it seems that you enjoyed listening to it too. It's such a privilege to be able to reach out to inspiring makers and learn about their crafts, their stories and their struggles along the way. Crafting and being a small business owner can be a rather lonely endeavour, as can be podcasting for that matter. But as you will hear from today's maker's story, the key is to never give up. Life can throw you unexpected changes and challenges over time, but if you dust yourself down and focus on your creativity, you never know where it might lead. My guest for today's episode is hand embroidery artist Clare Albans from Hello Hooray blog. Clare turned to embroidery after starting a family and filled a hole in her life which was left when she walked away from a career in music. Since then, she's published a book on embroidery and is now working on a second, and has turned her passion for colour and stitching into a business. She also has a bricks and mortar shop and studio in the northeast of England, thanks to a community-funded Kickstarter campaign last year. Here's my chat with Clare now. First of all, Clare, thank you so much for agreeing to come on to Making Stitches. It's lovely to have you join me. I've been admiring your beautiful, colourful samplers, and your work and your pictures on Instagram are just gorgeous. So thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for your kind words, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thanks for asking me on.
Oh, fabulous. So can I just take you back to the beginning and find out a little bit about your childhood? And were you creative from the word go?
Yes, I was, but actually it wasn't with sewing and things and drawing. I was actually absolutely obsessed with music. So it all started with taping songs off the radio. Originally, I grew up in the 90s, so if you don't know what a cassette tape is, sorry, I probably sound really old now. But then I started playing the recorder, and what I really, really wanted to do was play the violin. And my mum always said that when I was about 3, I saw Nigel Kennedy playing on the telly, and I was like, I want to do that. And then when I was at primary school, I got the chance to. So it was all about music for me, kind of like playing in little orchestras when I was growing up. And then just kind of worked through grades and things, and I was just so passionate about it, and I was absolutely desperate to play in an orchestra. That's really what I wanted to do, and I went to college. I went to Leeds College of Music, thinking that that's what I would do, and did my degree. That's how I ended up in Newcastle. So I'm grateful for everything that I learned from kind of working on that for a really long period of time. I think music and lots of the art subjects in schools are kind of seen as, not academic subjects, or actually the transferable skills and all of the things you learn from committing to something and working on that, which we all do, whatever your creative passion is. It takes work and commitment and dedication, and we all show that in a variety of different ways, and I think that gets lost in education, unfortunately. So I did a degree, had a teaching job up here, and then got into sewing as a sort of side thing from that, because when your passion is your job, sometimes you need something else then, don't you? Because it was just music was my life basically for a really, really long time. And then coming to terms with actually not teaching anymore, not being a music teacher and not really playing anymore, which sort of happened over a gradual period of time. I left my first teaching job, which I loved, left it for various different reasons, and it just sort of gradually fell out of love with it, which kind of sort of hit me like a train, really. It's probably the best way to say it. And I think for a long time, having done some CBT now, looking back on it, I think I was grieving for the fact that I wasn't doing what I loved and what I thought I was going to end up doing. So it took me a long time to kind of come to terms with that. And now I kind of say, I used to play the violin a little bit more, because the reality is that I don't. I'm doing so many other things now, but the beauty of anything creative is that you can always come back to it. I will come back to it at some point. I will, hopefully play with an orchestra again and just for fun and stuff. But it kind of shifted from being music and now being an embroidery artist. Who knew? I certainly didn't guess this was what I was going to end up doing.
Oh, well, the wonders of life, we never know where it's going to take us, do we?
I know. And I think actually just kind of being open to that, sometimes it feels a little bit scary, just kind of dropping everything, dropping the thing that I worked on for so long and was so passionate about. And I am still passionate about music. I had a period where I wasn't for a little while, but I'm kind of getting that back in as my side thing now, I suppose, but not really playing. But yeah, you just end up going down a path that you don't necessarily anticipate. But I think in order to kind of go with that, you kind of have to embrace the unknown, and that's the tricky thing, isn't it? Kind of really getting your head round, this feels new, and can I do this? And but that's why creativity is a brilliant thing. You can if you just allow yourself that freedom to explore it, it can take you in so many places that you just didn't think you were going to end up. And I love that.
Yeah, it's truly wonderful. You can disappear down so many different rabbit holes, can't you? It's just...
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're willing to let go and just follow it, you never know where it might lead.
Yeah.
So when did you first pick up a needle then?
Oh, well, so often people start with something small. I didn't do that. We were getting married in 2013, and a lot of it was handmade. And at that point, I tried everything. I used to say, I was kind of like a multi-crafter. And actually, my business and my blog is called Hello Hooray now. But when I first started it, it was called So Many Crafts, So Little Time, because I basically just wanted to try everything. Anyway, so we were making loads of things for our wedding, partly because we wanted lots of handmade things, and partly, just to kind of do things a little bit more cheaply. But I decided that I would make some waistcoats, having never really sewn anything before, but I wanted to embellish them a bit. I get these big ideas sometimes, and then I just go with them. So that's somebody... my mum and my mother-in-law and one of her friends, we all got together and worked out the waistcoat pattern one weekend, and made sure I knew what I was doing, and then kind of made the waistcoats and decorated them. And my father-in-law actually married us, so I made him a stole to match. And so it's a big project. And actually after that, I didn't do any for a little while. I came back to it after our daughter was born in 2016, because I just had this need to do something creative with a newborn, which sounds mad, doesn't it? It's very, very busy. When you've got a newborn and, and you had your first, it just kind of turns your world upside down. But I think I needed that connection to me.
Yeah, you need something for yourself, don't you?
Absolutely. And hand embroidery was just perfect, because you can literally just drop it mid-stitch and come back to it, whether that's an hour later, a month later, whatever, and I'm not very good at counting. I'm perfectly happy to admit that. So anything like cross-stitch or knitting or anything, I'm just like, I can't work out where I am. But hand embroidery is literally just look at it and carry on, and it just fitted in perfectly. And so I started actually designing my own things. A friend had her little girl a couple of days after our daughter was born, and I made something for her, and it just it just kind of grew from there, really. And it's just something that I wasn't expecting, but I love just the freedom of being able to doodle something and then make it permanent through stitching, and really take your time over it. And for me, it's always been about not just the finished product, it's about the process. I've got a studio here in Newcastle now, and my friend Daria designed a mural that's got a phrase that's really special to both of us: is take time out to be creative. And that's what it's about. It's the process is just so important to me, and that's what I found with hand embroidery, and that's where my love for it grew, really.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. So many of my guests on Making Stitches, it's the journey, it's the getting to the finished item. Almost that's superfluous, really. It's the actual process of creating something with your hands, and then the benefit that it has on your mental health and everything. It's so important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And there are days where craft doesn't fix it. I'm not saying it's a permanent solution, but just that process, that it really slows you down. You're just focusing on that one stitch at a time. And I always like to stitch like positive words and phrases, and I use a lot of colour in my work because that's something that makes me feel good, and hopefully it does when other people stitch my designs too, because it's all part of it, isn't it? And just put the kettle on, make yourself a cuppa, get comfy, and just, even if it's 10 minutes, that 10 minutes of time is it's like a reset.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so important just to take that little moment in the day out for yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, I noticed on your blog that you went to Blogtacular back in 2015. I mean, you mentioned your dates just now, but I mean, you've been in the kind of online, you've had an online presence for quite a long while, haven't you? How has that helped you with the direction that your life has taken since
that's a really good question. I like that question. I started my blog originally in like 2012. And it was because my friend Daria, my lovely friend Daria, who designed my mural, we worked together actually, and she was like, you should just blog about this. And I was like, nobody's going to want to read about all the random things that I've made, and there's recipes on there and there's all kinds of things. And, and she was like, no, you should do it. Go for it. And so I did, and people read it. And I think at first you're like, ooh. And, and then you get to meet lots of people and you like what they're reading, and the community, it was pre-Instagram, I guess, and social media as we know it now. Blogs was a really great place to start. And I think it just gave me the freedom to try things and, share them, and not really worry about if everything's perfect. I've always been, really, really open about the fact that the creative process is messy and you don't always get things right the first time. And I've always wanted my space online, whether that's on my blog or Instagram or wherever, to just kind of reflect that. We're so used to seeing everything perfect, and it isn't always like that. One of my favourite examples of this is that I once made a cheesecake. Obviously, this is not so related. I once made a cheesecake, and it wasn't quite cooked enough, so the pictures on it are awful. It looks like a brie that's just kind of collapsed, But I was like, well, it tasted amazing. It looked awful, but this is how it is. This is real life. So that's always been important for me, and it just gave me that space to do that. And at that point, I didn't. Hadn't really tried hand embroidery. I just wanted to be free to experiment, and I wasn't even selling anything at that point either. I knew I wanted to do something. I think that's the feeling that I've always had. I knew I wanted to do something. I didn't know what it was for a really, really long time. And actually, for a lot of people, that is normal. I think we see people who've just done this one thing forever, and they're amazing at it, and that there are people like that, and they are to be celebrated as well. But we also need to celebrate the people who are sort of fumbling around in the dark and just trying different things and experimenting and thinking, I want to do something and I don't know what it is, and that's okay. You just sit with that feeling for a while and keep exploring, and that thing will find you. It will, if you keep going and you keep creating. it will find you.
Absolutely. It can take years, but you might get there in the
Yes.
end, and it'll be worth it.
Yeah, it is worth it when you're like, yes, this is the one.
So at what stage then? I mean, obviously you mentioned that you took up the sewing once you'd had your daughter. At what stage did it then move into something more than just that little moment in the day for yourself?
So I went back to work, must have been 2017. And basically I really didn't want to go back to work. At that point I was like, how can I make this work? And I started designing more patterns and things. At that point I opened an Etsy shop that year, I think, and just thought, right, I'm going to go for it, but it needs to be a definite side hustle at the minute. I just felt I can't, as much as I'd love to quit my job, I can't quit my job. You kind of got to get all your ducks in a row, really, haven't you, before you make that leap? Because it's terrifying. It is. Leaving your job to kind of start something that you're trying to build yourself is scary. It was scary. It's still scary.
I can imagine.
But yeah, so I was just kind of building up, and then I designed my first kit, and then in 2018, I got an email out of the blue to say, hi, my editor's name is Catherine, but Catherine said, just emailing, I know this is a bit out of the blue, I'm working with a publisher, we are looking to work with some new authors on a book, would you be interested in pitching? And I was just like, I remember going home and just crying in the kitchen, because I was like, this doesn't happen to people like me. And it basically turned out that somebody had seen my stuff on Instagram that I'd been sharing, and I had about, don't even think I quite had 1,000 followers at that point, but somebody had seen it and put my name forward, and the rest is history, I guess. My first book came out in 2020, so that was unexpected and amazing. And I always remind myself that sometimes you feel like you're making things and you're putting things out there and nothing's happening, but sometimes everything just comes together at the right moment, and it takes time. Like I said, it's 2012 when I started blogging. It took a long time for things to come together, but if you keep working and you keep believing and just try to believe in what you're doing, I guess, which is hard sometimes. It's easier said than done, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You're a creative person as well, and lots of people listening to this will be thinking, yep, I have days where that's really tricky, and whatever stage you're at, you will still have days like that, but it just kind of came together, and I'm still amazed because, as far as I'm concerned, I'm just mainly a mum. And it was just really surreal. But
awesome. Well, do you know what? I get told off for saying that. That's the first thing I say when people say, what do you do? It's like, I'm a mum. And then it's like, but surely you do other things too. And it's like, well, yeah, I do this, and this. And it's like, I don't know how I fit it all in, but I do. But yeah, you've got to keep plugging away, haven't you? Yeah. Because you never know when that moment might come. And it's quite hard sometimes when you feel like it's just me on my own, and I'll just keep making and putting stuff out there, and maybe one day something will happen. You never know, do you? If you were to give up, it might have been the next day. That magic email might have arrived.
I always think I would rather have a go and it not work than not know if I hadn't just gone for it. I think that feels worse for me personally. I always rather give it a go, even if it doesn't quite work out.
And what was it like then, putting all your ideas into a book? Was it an awful lot of work for you?
Yeah, it's an interesting process, and I learned loads. The team that I worked with are amazing. So Catherine, my editor, used to edit Molly Makes, and so the team that she was working with as well, it was just really, really interesting to see it all come together. And you don't know how long these things are going to take or anything like that. So I started with a couple of my favourite designs that I'd already shared, because I thought, I get asked about these all the time. It would be nice to kind of include those because they were quite special to me. So they've got a little Good Vibes hoop, and that was one of the first things I ever designed, and so it was important for me to put that in there. And then it just kind of grew from there. I think all of my ideas kind of sort of grow fairly organically. I'm not amazing at doodling. I tend to do lots of like little sort of doodles on the computer rather than actually with pen and pencil, because I'm less judgmental about myself. That's really weird, isn't it? Although I have to say, having kids, they're always like, "Mummy, your picture's amazing." I'm like, "Thank you." You know.
Yeah, you'll take that praise.
You know, so I kind of like play around, but often for me, it's like colours and textures and patterns. That's a huge inspiration in nature. And, you know, so I found that once I started designing a few new things, the ideas kind of just kept coming. And I realised that that is a really lucky position to be in, because there are other times where it's really not like that. And actually, after I'd finished my book, I was like, I'm never going to have another idea again. You know, I was lucky that it hit on the right time, and I was able to work on that. And also had another baby at that point after I'd kind of finished it all off and everything as well. So it was a busy time.
I can imagine. Blimey.
But yeah, so one thing, the main thing that I did learn is that you know, it's okay to kind of make mistakes and stuff with it. So basically, when I got the email about the book, I was not in a good place mentally. I think actually I was probably at my lowest point. I felt really, really stuck in my previous job, and it wasn't doing me any good at all. You know, and I remember emailing Catherine and looking at emails and what I actually needed to do and things like that. And basically, to cut a long story short, I was meant to take step-by-step photos of everything, but I'd completely misread the email. So this was about like a year and a half later, like realising I didn't have enough step-by-step photos. I've never actually told anybody this. Well, I've told a few close friends, but I've never been massively open about this. So this is this is me bearing all on making stitches today. So yeah, so when it came to them, basically I took all the step-by-step photos, or didn't at first, and they were doing the cover shots and the main shots in the book, and basically there weren't enough step-by-step photos, and I was absolutely mortified. I remember just ringing Catherine up, crying, going, "I'm so sorry, this isn't me. Like, I am, anybody who knows me knows I'm super organised, I'm really meticulous. That is just how I am." And I felt really embarrassed, actually, because I was just thinking, how do I deal with this fact that I am writing a book and I've completely, you know, I was just in a really bad place, and I misread it, and I'd got the wrong thing into my head, and they were amazing about it. So when my son was about 5 months old, I spent the summer mocking things up. And if you have a look at my book, you can't tell, unless you know, that most of the step-by-step photos were me doing little bits of a project and then pretending. But, you know, initially I was mortified. You know, had a cup of tea, took a deep breath, had a chat, and it's fine. We make mistakes.
That's human,
you know, and
nature.
I'm much better at dealing with that now. But at the time, it was like the worst thing ever. But it was all fine in the end. So I've just started writing my second book, actually, and I'm taking photos of everything.
Fabulous. It was all a learning process then, wasn't it? And
it is a learning process.
Human.
And you know, you can beat yourself up about it, and believe me, I really did beat myself up about it, but you're like, it's fine, there's plenty of time, they've still got time to sort everything out. And you know, so there we go. That was my little revelation for today. My first book. I mean, I'd hardly taken any. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, these things happen, don't they? And you learn from it and you move on, and I'm not going to make that mistake again, and that's cool.
Well, it couldn't have been that bad though, could it? Because you're on book number 2. That's wonderful.
I'm on book number 2. Yeah, it obviously didn't bother them that much, so that was good. There was plenty of time, and you know, actually, the time that it takes to, you know, you obviously So what I did was I said, I think I'm going to be able to write my book in this length of time. And then, it gets all submitted and everything. And then there's the editing stage, and you're going backwards and forwards for quite a long time about sorting things out. So the whole process was such a long process that there was time to do that anyway. So it was fine.
So what's the time scale?
Always read your emails carefully, people.
Well, yeah. What's your time scale going forwards then for book 2? When can we expect to see it available?
I'm not sure about publication date, but I am aiming to submit at the end of January next year, so 2023.
How exciting.
Which feels like it should be ages away, does it? I feel like with the pandemic, I'm like, are we not, is it not still 2021? No, okay, 2022. So yeah, I don't know whether that's optimistic with everything else that's going on, but I've started and it's going well so far. So yeah, it's exciting.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Just a real joy to be working with them again. So my publisher is White Owl, and yeah, fantastic team.
Oh, that's super. Well, going back to last year, that was a pretty big year for you as well, wasn't it? I mean, you had your Kickstarter campaign to open your workshop where you're sitting now. And
yes.
You did was it the Happy Stitch project?
Yeah, so
well,
the Happy Stitch project, remember I said earlier that after I wrote my first book, I felt like I might never have another idea again. That was kind of born out of that a bit, really. I just felt really stuck kind of creatively, but over the years I've kind of noticed a pattern is that if I feel stuck, the thing that gets me out of it is learning something new. Because that just that really sparks ideas. And often with embroidery, it's because, I learn a new stitch and it's like a new texture or a new pattern or something that I can use. And I think, that'd work really nicely. So for my first book, I only actually used about 5 or 6 different stitches. And the reason for that is because they were the only ones that I knew, which it just shows you how versatile embroidery is. It's not how many stitches you know, it's what you do with them, basically. So I was like, right, I'm gonna learn some new stitches, and I'm gonna share them every week, and I'm gonna be really, really honest about the process of learning them. So what I did was I decided that I would basically teach a new stitch every week for the whole of 2021. And yeah, I actually did it. Because a year-long challenge, I've never done that before. It's a big undertaking, and a lot of the time I was like recording the audio the night before, because I used to release it every Friday. And it was fabulous, and I've got to know so many stitches through that, and had really lovely feedback about people joining in or people finding it later on. And I'm actually running it again just through my website. It's a free course. I decided to keep it free because I just thought I want to give something back to the community that's given me so much. I'm basically trying to upload the stitches every week in case anybody wants to follow it, but you can come back to it at any time. So you can just sign up for the course and access it whenever you want, and you can either stitch a lovely sampler design, which was actually designed by my lovely friend Helen from Unicorn Factory UK, who I got to know through the project, and she was like, I'm going to do the sampler. And I was like, that's amazing. Do you mind if I let people have it as well? And she's like, yeah. So she made the PDF, and that's all there. And so you can either learn stitches through that, or you can stitch different projects. And it's really, really is a kind of take what you need and leave the rest kind of thing. So there's no pressure. I'm really honest about how I felt about all the stitches. So herringbone is still my nemesis. That and some of the knots. But it opened up a lot of conversation about it, because I think some things that often people say, well, these are the basic ones, if you think about herringbone stitches, essentially just a load of straight stitches arranged in a nice pattern, isn't it? But I just couldn't, I don't know, it just, sometimes when I do it now, I'm much better at it because I've had more practice. But when I first did it, I was like, what is this? Whereas it's considered to be not hugely difficult. Whereas I think what it made me think about, and what the conversations were that came out of it, is that, we're all different, and just to kind of be kind to yourself and just give it a go, and don't worry if you can't do it the first time. Danish knots were another one there was a lot of discussion about Danish knots, and some people are like, I never want to do these again, and I'm like, that's okay. Really, just decide you're never going to do a Danish knot again in your life. That's absolutely fine.
Oh dear, I know where you're coming from. Certainly I have an issue with the big bubbles in crochet. That's when I'm following a pattern and I come up to a row of bubbles and it's like, they're so time consuming. They look fantastic when they work. Yeah. But sometimes you just there's certain things you have a mental block with, and it's like, you're going to have a struggle.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So like we were kind of sort of learning to let go of a few things together, and just, again, it's about experimenting, isn't it? And giving yourself space to do that, and giving yourself grace to, like, I'm not necessarily going to get this the first time or the 10th time. I might never want to do these again, but, I've given it a go, and that's fine.
Absolutely. You've got to try.
Absolutely.
So I'll take you on to then your Kickstarter, which was quite an exciting undertaking.
Oh, I was a bit terrified about doing it, and I sort of mentioned it to people, and people were like, yeah, you should totally do that. This is for those of you who don't know, I now have a little haberdashery shop at my studio. My studio is about 10 minutes away from where I live, so it's fabulous for fitting in around home educating and everything else that's going on. And it's got a lovely bright workshop room, and I had this little room that I wanted to turn into the shop. And I was thinking, maybe I should do a Kickstarter. And my friend Amy was like, yeah, you should definitely do a Kickstarter, and a few other friends as well. Like, just do it. But I mean, that was a complete unknown for me. I think, kind of growing up, it was like, in terms of money and things, like working and saving up to be able to do that. So asking people for money and asking people to support this thing if they could, like, I don't know, it took me a while to get my head around that. And it was a big learning curve, kind of actually just like using the platform and thinking about how it would work and things. And I decided that I wasn't going to complicate matters with stretch goals. I was just going to have a few different rewards and things. So we launched it on, I think it was about 6:00 on the Friday evening, and I went upstairs to put the little ones to bed, and I'd set myself at just a small target of £500, because I thought, I'd say small, £500 is a lot of money, but, in comparison to some other ones and things, but I just thought that would get me the shelves at least. And it came back down, having put the kids to bed, and that I think I'd had like about £1,000 worth of pledges and stuff. And I couldn't believe it. It was just, the support was incredible, and lovely messages, and people sharing it and things, and it was just overwhelming. It's still overwhelming when I think about it. Just the support and the love for what I'm doing and my business, and it was just so lovely. And I think, having been had in my previous job, not being in a really good place and not feeling like valued, or not feeling like what I was doing was worthwhile or anything like that, to just have those messages meant more than I could actually explain to people. It was amazing. It was really good. So we started out with the £500 target, and by the end had raised just over 5k. Wow. Which was amazing. It was really incredible. At the end of a summer holidays as well, I was thinking, I don't even know if I'm doing this at the right time. I don't know. I just didn't know what I was doing. Excuse me. But just went for it anyway, and I'm just so grateful. And it's been lovely opening the shop. Like, loads of people that were here on opening day. We had a big giant balloon arch that one of my friends had made, and like, people were just like, I supported your Kickstarter and it's really awesome to see it. And even this weekend, a lady came in saying, I couldn't make it, but I'm here now, and it's lovely to see it. And it's just awesome. And yeah, it's like what we were saying earlier about you working towards things sometimes, and you don't ever think that this is going to be a dream. And then I'm here running a little shop 2 days. I'm only open 2 days a week at the physical shop. Online's obviously open 24/7. But it's just overwhelming, and just so grateful to people for supporting it.
Yeah, it must be
thank
so
you
nice.
to everybody who supported it.
Oh, it must be so nice to have that reinforced, though, isn't it? The belief that you had in yourself all these years, to actually see other people put their money where their mouth is and support you in what you want to do.
And you know, indie businesses work super hard. You know, I can't remember who said, somebody said it on a previous podcast. You know, indie businesses understand other indie businesses because we all know how hard we work. And it is so true. It's just, you know, you get the kids to bed and you start work at 9 o'clock, you know, or whatever it is. And we have an appreciation for that. And it's, you know, it's not, obviously, this is my main job now. So, yeah, I am doing it to pay the bills. And it's been a little bit quiet over the last few months. So, you know, with Facebook ad changes and Apple changes and everything. But you've got to kind of play the long game, you know, but it's more than that. It's about your passion. It's about helping other people. And, you know, it's not just about the money and job. It's about everything else that surrounds that. So for me, I've lived in this part of Newcastle for about 12 years now. And I really wanted to be able to use the space, like, to do something for the community. So I've started up like a crafty social event every other week. So, you know, seeing that build up is really nice. And there's a lovely lady that came in for a chat. She just came into the shop on Saturday and had a nice little chat, you know, for about half an hour, because, you know, she's older and she doesn't have any family anymore. And, you know, it's that kind of thing. It's that connection. And I think particularly after the pandemic, you know, just being able to rebuild connections and do that through something creative is really, really important. And so that's what this space has always been about. It isn't just about the shop, you know, it's about teaching and community. It's about people and creativity. And that's why it was so important to me. And I'm just so grateful that people kind of saw that in the Kickstarter project and wanted to support it.
Oh, lovely. So what are your hopes going forward then?
Well, I am only open 2 days a week at the minute. That's mainly because we home educate. So by choice, no, everyone's like, why? You must be mad. If I had £1 for every time somebody had said that. But it's working out well. And, you know, but I would like to open a bit more if possible. And I also want to be able to support other creatives. So I'm looking to try and get other people to come and run workshops here as well. So, you know, because I can't crochet and I can't knit, and, you know, but there are some amazingly talented people in the Northeast and beyond, and it would be nice to just use this space as a platform to help them as well. So yeah, and just get people back out and being creative and being together again. I think, you know, we've missed that connection, haven't we? It's,
without a doubt,
you know, most of the interactions I've had have just been with like people at the supermarket and things, but I've realised that I am such a chatty person and that, you know, I need that connection as well. So, you know, just kind of just like a community space to grow really. And I've got the lease for about 5 years, so I'd like to be in a position to be able to extend that, I think, to be here as a more longer term thing. 5 years feels like a really long time, and it is absolutely terrifying when you're signing the lease. That was a really big thing last year, so I haven't quite been here a year yet. It'll be a year in April. I'm not sure when this is going out. It might be roughly the same time, but yeah, that felt huge. It felt really grown up and scary. But it was the next natural step. I'd grown out of my craft room at home. I couldn't realistically run my business from there, and, you know, so you've got to take the leap sometimes. I think that's what I've learned throughout the whole of this process, whether it's a leap that's trying something new or, you know, something massive, like signing a lease on a studio. But there are always going to be some days where I'm like, shall I just go and work in Lidl?
I think we all have those days.
I know. My husband Tom's always like, you can't say that, don't say that. And I'm like, well, you know, I don't think I would be officially a small business owner unless I have that thought at least 3 times a week at the moment, you know, but that's fine. It's the long game is hard, isn't it? You know, it is. when you're trying to pay your bills now. But I believe in what I'm doing here, and you know, I think it'd just be really amazing to be here longer term.
Oh, well, it sounds like you're doing a brilliant job so far. And
oh, thank you.
I mean, obviously, I've never actually visited your workshop in person, but the pictures of it look beautiful. The mural and the whole process of watching that grow on the wall through the Instagram pictures. It's just beautiful. So it looks like such an uplifting, positive little corner of your world that you're opening up to other people. So that's really, really lovely. And I just wish you all the best for the future, really. It's fabulous.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
What a positive and enthusiastic person Clare is. It's no wonder her business has taken off so well. You can't help but get caught up in her enthusiasm. Thank you again to Clare for speaking to me for Making Stitches and being so open about your struggles and hiccups along the way. If you'd like to find out more about Clare and Hello Hooray, you can find all her links in the show notes for this episode. Now, like Clare, I'm a one-woman operation, editing and producing Making Stitches podcast. I have no sponsorship or funding to cover the costs incurred in making the podcast. If you'd like to support me with Making Stitches, there are a few ways you could do that. There's a Making Stitches shop on Etsy, which sells podcast merchandise like tote bags, which are perfect for storing your whips and stash. There's also stitch markers and badges, as well as my own Up the Garden Path series of crochet patterns. Money raised through the shop helps me make the podcast. Alternatively, you could buy me a virtual coffee on my Ko-fi page. You could write a review on your podcast app of choice for Making Stitches, or share the podcast on your social media and amongst your friends and family to help spread the word. You can find links to the Making Stitches shop and Ko-fi page in the show notes too. That's all for this episode of Making Stitches. I'll be back again in 2 weeks' time with another inspiring maker story for you. Next time, it'll be with the crochet and knitting designer Lynn Rowe from The Wool Nest. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, take care and enjoy your crafting.